with a star-studded cast of comedians. How would this film perform? I have my thoughts, and I'm ready to break it all down for you right here because we're getting ready to jump into the review of the new film, Back on the Strip. What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the channel today for another review. And today we're going to be reviewing the new film Back on the Strip, coming to theaters August 18th. As I mentioned, this cast is loaded with notable comedians. It's just notable talent overall. Wesley Snipes, Tiffany Haddish, JB Smoove, Gary Owens, Bill Bellamy. The list just goes on and on and on here. But with that, you know, you're definitely in store for a lot of laughs. But with all jokes, with all either sets or whatever it may be, or different comedians. Oh, and should I mention Kevin Hart's also in this as well too. You just never know in terms of like what you're going to get, especially when you have this just vast amount of talent all in one mixing bowl. How would it be? And for me, like, the film was funny. It was very raunchy at times, and while some jokes did work for me, a lot of it didn't. And it's kind of a hit or miss with me with Tiffany Haddish, even with Kevin Hart as well too. And you know, I truly love Wesley Snipes. I really feel like he can do no wrong. But with all this talent in this film, just how would this all really mesh out? But I truly think this is a film that, not only is it a really good date night film, a film that you can like end the night with, you know, whether you went out and grab some drinks or grab some food and then looking for something else to do. I think it's a good film for that role. I also think it's a good film to kind of put on when you have company, once it's available on demand and digital, to kind of have in the background, because there's so many jokes and the plot is so thin that you could jump in and out for certain jokes and I think still really enjoy the time, the film. And the runtime is just close to 2 hours, so like it's a longer film than I think it should be, but I think it definitely has its moments, you know. And then the plot. Talking about the plot here, you have Merlin, played by Spencer Moore II, who is the son of Tiffany Haddish character Verna. He wants to be a musician, and it just isn't working locally. So he decides to take his talents to Vegas. And upon going to Vegas, it also doesn't really work until he lands on the gig of, performing with this iconic group of black male strippers, the Chocolate Chips. So, yeah, I don't know what else to really add to that besides that Merlin has a love interest, and it kind of gives you that, you know, they grew up together, and it kind of gives you that feeling like they're destined to be together. Magic is right there. I mean, I guess for lack of a better word, so we'll just use magic. But I feel like it's their fate for them to grow old and be together. But she's getting ready to go to college, so there's always that idea of like, how is this going to work? He wants to pursue his dreams, and that sends him in two different directions. And ultimately, they reconnect. But what would it be like when they reconnect? What will their life path? Will it have them reconnect in a way that makes sense for them to further their romance from one another? So like, they got this love element story that, to me, honestly, I could have did without. I don't think it added to the film at all. Also, the magic stuff I also didn't really think added at all, because like, I think the magic with Merlin wanting to pursue to be a musician, I don't think that there was anything that truly convinced me that he was ever good. So I also could have just did without that. I don't know what else they could have subbed it with, but like, him being a musician, I don't know. It could have been anything though. It could have been literally anything else. But when you talk about the Chocolate Chips, this group of black strippers here, and then this is the group of basically all the comedians here: JB Smoove, Gary Owens, Bill Bellamy. I did say Gary Owens, and I know I said black strippers. It is explained in the film. I get it, folks. And it's hilarious. That's really the heart of the film, is seeing this group of 5 folks that were pretty much running through Vegas. They were the talk of town. They were putting butts in seats, you know. but then they all went their way. So it was truly about Merlin being like the catalyst of bringing this group together, because it was lucrative for everybody. Everybody was kind of struggling and kind of doing different things in their life, but them coming back together truly is the best for everyone's benefits. But also it's just about the camaraderie of these 5 guys getting back together and kicking it like they used to, you know. So I appreciate that. That was the heart of the film. And you know, Kevin Hart's in the film as the uptight dad. It has its own separate little thing. It doesn't really truly like elevate the story. It's just basically Merlin was working a gig and he was working as a clown, and Kevin Hart was the dad that was throwing a party for his daughter, and well, it didn't really go the way he wanted it to go. And then Kevin Hart had to get in his jokes and whatnot, and it was funny. It definitely was funny. And also during the mid credit stuff, there was definitely a lot of outtakes, and you also got more Kevin Hart there. So like Kevin Hart was almost like a cameo. You could tell that he obviously filmed this after the fact. It was probably like a late addition to the film, and it did work in terms of the humor, but in terms of the plot, just really not. Tiffany Haddish narrates the film, adding like extra commentary about the certain scenes and whatnot. None of that worked for me. I could have did without that entirely. But in fact, the acting stuff with Tiffany Haddish and the jokes did work for me. So it was like, maybe too much Tiffany Haddish it is, but for what it's worth, the character Werner works. The narrator Tiffany Haddish didn't. That's just my thoughts about that. But yeah, it's very raunchy. Tons of jokes about dicks, like way too many jokes about dicks. So just be ready for that. And then there was a character who was like a social media influencer. I could have did without that as well too. But yeah, you know, like I said, like, listen, don't expect too much from this film. You're going to get laughs. There's going to be jokes on jokes. Some will land for you, some may not. Maybe it all lands for you, I don't know. But for me, it was definitely like too much at times. You know, it was definitely like really trying to get those jokes in, and at some point it kind of felt a little bit overkill. The narration didn't work. The plot was very thin, but it was really about the camaraderie of these 5 guys getting back together and getting back, making that money in Vegas, and that was cool. I definitely liked that. And everything else along that, it was just kind of just additives that was whatever. And then the mid credit stuff was cool. I loved the bloopers and the outtakes. They were pretty funny as well. So you definitely want to stay through for that. But back on the strip, very, very much a film I expected it to be. It was going to have its moments where it was really excelling with the jokes. Some moments where it was kind of like, whatever. But nonetheless, it's a popcorn flick, a date night film, a film that you kind of put in the background where you have company, where you can like kind of jump in for some jokes, jump out. A very, plot that really didn't do much, but the comedians did what they did. And certainly when you talk about the comedians, yeah, you know, JB Smoove has his moments, Gary Owens has his moments, Bill Bellamy has his moment, Faison Love is really a standout, if I must say, and then Wesley Snipes really brings it all together. I really truly think that Wesley Snipes is a hidden gem in Hollywood, sometimes very underrated and underappreciated. And I think every single time he does step back out for a role, you tend to realize, like, yeah, this guy is really good, and he's been good for a very long time, really taking characters very drastically different from all the previous ones and really making them worthwhile, interesting, and engaging. And it's the same thing with him, where you're just like, why don't we give Wesley enough love? And I think this is another example of just like seeing Wesley just be as good as I know him to be, and hopefully you all appreciate him to be. But nonetheless, check out Back on the Strip in theaters August 18th, folks. Jump in the comments, let me know your thoughts about it, and as always, stay tuned for more reviews very soon.